Hi, this is the Dreamcatcher podcast, and I'm London May. I'm a Dreamcatcher staff, and
I'm V, and I'm also a member of the Dreamcatcher staff.
Since Halloween is coming up, I thought we could talk about which Halloween characters would submit to what of Dreamcatcher.
Any ideas so far?
I really honestly think Jigsaw would submit to poetry because I feel like he loves, like, the long game, the deeper meaning behind things. Like, I could see him being an English teacher.
Yeah, I could totally see that. He's definitely got the whole elaborate plan that ends up being way simpler than it needs to be type shtick going on, you know?
What's your favorite, like, Jigsaw movie, like, would you say?
I'd have to give it to the original. It's kind of got that, like, low-budget feel-in vibe, but it does it really well, and it's got some of the really more interesting traps. There are better traps in later movies, but I think the first one's just got the better story so far.
I agree. I feel like nothing does better than the original at hand.
Definitely.
Also, I feel like Freddy Krueger, I feel like he's one of my popular favorite villains. What about you?
Freddy Krueger's really good, but personally, I've always been more of a fan of, like, the not talkative, lack of reason kind of things. Like, you know, stuff like the xenomorph. That thing, that it's just an animal trying to like hunt for food, and that's always just been super cool. Plus, really, just the original Alien has a special place in my heart.
So, like, because, like, I feel like with Freddy Krueger, like, he has so much personality, but, like, an animal, you're talking about, what's his name?
The xenomorph.
The xenomorph. I feel like with the xenomorph, he's, like, born, that's his instinct.
Right.
His instinct is just evil.
Its instinct is just to, like, hunt for food. That's, like, kind of what it was birthed to do. But it's also part of, like, a hive mind with the queen xenomorph. It's, like, got a whole thing going on. It's just...
It's simple and complex.
Exactly.
So what do you think, where would he submit in the Dreamcatcher, since he's mute? And he's, like, simple.
That's really tough to say considering it's, you know, an animal, but I feel like the xenomorph would definitely be the kind of guy to write, or kind of thing, I guess, to probably write prose, but it would mostly be about the queen xenomorph because that's, like, everything the xenomorph would normally think about, so everything would just be about prose related to the queen and stuff like that, but I'm not really sure it would write anyways.
I feel like I totally agree. I could see them, like... I could see what's that one movie? Like, you know, like in Zeus and those type of movies, like in Greece, you have the people scribing in the thing. Right. I could see the xenomorph scribing, like, these things to the queen.
Yeah, I could totally see that. They've been around for ages.
That's what I think. And then, like I was saying with Freddy Krueger, I feel like he would send it to fanfiction. Like, he loves a good Wattpad story.
Oh, you're right, though. You're right. I can totally see it.
He's the original YN.
True. He's really old, but he's totally got that vibe. He totally has that vibe to be really into, like, self-insert
Tell me
fanfic.
why I saw three teenage girls with the same striped sweater as him. Like, he's, like, that vibe.
Like the kind of plaid thing?
Yes.
I know, this is gonna sound kind of weird, but, like, the thing about... Like, I've seen, because I'm, like, in the community, it's, like, people wearing plaid, 90% of the time they end up being, like, really queer is the thing.
Yeah, I feel
and
like,
those people, and, like, them people like them and us, always kind of go into fan fiction eventually.
Yes.
That's, like, just always a commonality
Literally,
I see.
me, elementary, middle school, I love a good YN.
Oh, my God.
Don't play with it.
I've always been someone that does daydreaming while listening to music. That's always been, like, something I did, and it's always been self-inserty stuff.
Literally, because, like, why would I care about two other characters? Okay, I respect people who read about two other people, but I'm making it about me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I can understand wanting to do things about two other characters. I do that myself sometimes when I'm really bored and think it's interesting. But it's always more interesting when it's, like, figuring out how you would fit into a world like that. It's always more interesting when it's related to that.
I feel like Freddy Krueger, if he was a teenage girl, he gives me that vibe of, like, Red Wattpad in high school, and now it's, like, a basic Lululemon girl in high school. Like, you know, like, Red...
Yeah,
That's
totally.
what he gives me.
That, or the kind of person that writes a Wattpad story and it ends up actually, like, turning into a book somehow, Twilight or something.
Yes.
He'd totally be the kind of person to write something like Twilight or actually read Twilight.
Yeah, and I feel like he definitely wears Brandy Melville. Like, the sweaters... Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. He's always had a fall vibe going on.
Yeah, he comes to school late with his coffee in his hand.
That he tries not to break with his knife
claws.
hands.
Oh my gosh.
He totally would be on Team Edward, though.
Pumpkin spice latte. Oh my gosh. I knew he was the first one in line at Starbucks for that pumpkin spice latte.
He totally would be. And he's always up at night, so it's not hard for him at all.
You know how they released the pumpkin spice latte earlier this year? He probably went into someone's dreams and, like, manifested that.
Threatened them in their dreams to do it early or something like that?
No, for real. Oh man.
What? Do you got any other ideas though? This is fun.
I feel like Pennywise from It. I feel like I see villains all the time, but I feel like in real like horror, because like not in anime. In anime, villains are very like comical. They make jokes, but in real life horror, they're not very like comical or outgoing. But I feel like Pennywise
is definitely
I feel like he would definitely do a podcast.
Yeah, he totally would, and I'm not sure what exactly he'd talk about though.
He's not a stigma male. He's more like a girly pop.
Yeah, no, I could totally see, but it'd be the kind of girly pop that like makes fun of other girly pops, you know,
like a pick me.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. That's totally the vibes I get from Pennywise if he had a podcast.
But I feel like he's definitely a pick me girl. He's like I feel like he would make fun of people's fashion choice and then show up in his little fat suit.
Oh, totally.
Like his little like baggy suit.
Oh my god, yes, and like the whole thing about the ending of it, chapter 2, where he like gets decked by just people making fun of him, he would crumble if he actually got someone like capable of talking on the podcast.
It's giving like, you know those women that can't cook and clean. Like he's giving like a millennial person who says that. Like that's his vibe.
Oh my god, yes, totally. He'd be the kind of person to talk about adulting or whatever.
Yeah.
But he totally would, and like the stupid like high-pitched voice he does.
And he loves Disney too. He probably loves Disney.
Oh, definitely. Like massive Disney adult.
Like
he totally gives me those kind of creepy vibes.
Yeah.
He totally spreads rumors about all those like Disney park things, like
like
the whole thing about the Walt Disney cryogenically frozen head and like the spreading the ashes in Disney rides that they do, which I find crazy. Those poor people that have to clean up the ashes. Oh my gosh.
I mean, let's just not do that at a kid's park.
Like, come on.
It's gonna end up with someone's ice cream. Like,
come on now. What are you doing? Like, do you want your relatives' ashes to get sucked up into a vacuum? Like, what is wrong with you?
I just feel like maybe if that's your thing, maybe I would say put it in a bag or put it in like a necklace, you know what I mean, and leave it there maybe.
Yeah, like a necklace would work so well.
So cute.
And you could have like a little like altar for them in remembrance. Disney, if you like ask them, they would totally be down for something like that.
But to free ball the freaking
just like get their urn and just kind of dump it out, like what, like at the house, like the House of Horror of all rides. It's the House of Horrors. Like I imagine half the time you're just like it would be accidental. Like you just kind of throw it and it would shatter in the roof.
I feel like the Matronics are gonna be scared. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Make a machine feel fear for the first time. That'd be weird.
Yeah. Okay, when I grew up, I was not really a Five Nights at Freddy's person, but my friends did. Or did you like Five Nights at Freddy growing up?
It was weird. I wasn't really into it, but like later on, I thought the game theory videos about them were interesting.
They were so interesting with the kids and
definitely like all the really complicated lore that half of it ended up just being made on the spot because people made theories and the guy that made the game was like, that's totally what I was going for. Totally the plan. Totally playing all of that out. Trust.
Yeah.
That part I just always found really funny, and some of the games are actually kind of cool. Like like the I'm trying to think of a specific one. The VR games.
Yeah.
The VR games are super interesting. I think because
like the graphics.
It's really good.
Yeah.
And like the sequel game, which I think is even crazier.
And the backstories.
Even the VR game has unique lore to it because you're playing as as someone in universe testing out a VR game based on the history of FNAF.
It was ahead of its time,
which was so cool, and the lore drops in it, and the whole William Afton being in a game code and infecting the Vanny girl. That was super cool to me. I just thought that was really interesting.
So, what part of Dreamcatcher do you think they would do as a whole?
I think as the animatronics themselves, they would. If we ever allowed it, they'd totally be the kind of people to just have music there.
Definitely.
If we ever did something like that, they would 100% like do like singles or something on there, like their indie albums and stuff. That's totally what they would be doing. And William Afton, I feel like he would also own a podcast. No, wait, no, he's a bit too reclusive, and he's like a convicted murderer.
I feel like he would edit the podcast. He'd be behind the scenes of the podcast. He would feed them the ideas.
And I think he'd be more he'd be like, you know those kind of girls that do like witchy things?
Yes.
Like I'm heavily into that, but he'd do it into like a really weird extreme like voodoo type stuff.
You know what I mean?
He would totally do voodoo magic.
I feel like Definitely.
He gives voodoo.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, putting yourself in game code. Come on, that's like
that's a little
that's like modern voodoo at that point. You know,
obsessive. That's like manifesting, literally.
Yeah,
like
literally. Oh my god, it's literally modern day voodoo.
He's literally me when I see my affirmations in the mirror.
So true. And I mean, he put himself into the mind of like the first person of like the first. Like he didn't like the first person that did the beta testing. He didn't put him like. Possessed them.
Yeah.
No, he waited for the next person who was like this Vanny girl who was like overworked and like just kind of your average early 20s overworked office worker, and then he's like, that's me. That's right the there. One. That's me, literally. Like, come on. The signs are there, you know what I mean? But and then there's like that's just the like older animatronics. And there's like all of the newer ones. Like the ballet one, the ballet girl from the sixth game.
The wolf with the eye patch.
Foxy.
Yes.
Yeah, he's from the OG crew. He would totally like help out with the crew with like some of the background instrumentals. I feel like
he's like artistic a little bit, a little painting.
He would, but I think he would go off on his own and like make sea shanties, you know? Like those people that do modern day recordings of sea shanties. Yeah. He would totally do that. Definitely. Like he's really into the pirate thing. Definitely. Which I can respect. Sea shanties are awesome.
I feel like are pirates still a thing? Like, is there pirates?
Surprisingly, there are. Not like the old days, like, massive brig thing. It's more like tiny speedboats, guns, screaming at you to give them their money or they'll sell you to slavery type of thing. Which, I mean, well, you know, older pirates did do that too. Yeah. They weren't as upfront about it. They were mostly looking for sugar and rum.
What about what would modern day pirates submit to in the Dreamcatcher?
Modern day pirates? That's an interesting one. I don't know. That's really hard to say. They're really they're really weird. Cause
do you know what they remind me of?
What?
Do you know that one kid in your class who's from a nice, respected neighborhood and tries to be a gangbanger?
Oh my god!
Yes, that's literally that's
a pirate. So right.
Like
there are pirates that aren't like that, but I have a feeling a lot of them are like that.
Yes,
because like we're in the 21st century. I respect the pirate aesthetic, but we do not need to be doing all of this anymore. You are not like privateers in the war against Spain. You have a way.
You're from Beverly Hills.
Exactly. You have a way of making a income without going to piracy. Like, what is wrong with you?
Oh my gosh. I bet you 1 in 10 people you met are going to go into piracy next year.
Spend their parents' money to buy themselves a speedboat to rob people.
I feel like they would definitely post with money online with like, I feel like they would definitely in photography and they would post with themselves some money.
Oh my god, yeah. Yes. They'd be those people that are always flexing the stuff they got from their parents.
Yeah, be like, work too hard for this trip.
And then someone in the comments is like, that's your dad's birthday present. What are you talking about?
That's your dad's BMW. What are you talking about?
Exactly. Like, but instead it'd be like, that's your dad's frigate. What are you talking about?
Yeah, like, you did not buy that.
That is not your ship. What are you talking about?
Man. Going out of the gated community, making it into piracy.
That's crazy. We're getting out of the pier with this one.
Oh my gosh.
They'd be the type of people that'd try to do those like really weird like rap other genre type of thing, but it would be rap and pirate shanties mixed, which is just. What do you... No, that doesn't sound right.
It doesn't.
Don't do pirate shanties like that. They don't need those, like... Yeah. They don't need a producer tag on a pirate shanty.
Oh my gosh.
You don't need that.
Oh, Metro boom and make it boom.
and then it's just someone beating on the side of a wooden table as the bait.
Rocking about the plank. Man. So I feel like some people view AI as a villain, and what would you say? What would he submit to in Dreamcatcher?
Just like AI in general?
Yeah, like
just
AI.
Like the concept of AI?
Maybe ChatGPT, that was my favorite. What would he submit to?
ChatGPT would try to make poetry but it would end up sounding like complete nonsense because it like filtered every form of poetry into one.
I feel like their writing style is too millennial. I asked them to do some Instagram captions for me for Halloween, right?
Right.
And they sounded like my mom made them. I was like...
They would totally be the kind of people to do, no, you know what? What I was thinking? Like, you know those, like, millennial core songs that have the OO thing going on? And, you know what I'm talking about. Cookie cutter... That's the type of stuff ChatGPT would do.
Oh, my gosh.
Because it's really easy to produce.
Yeah.
Come on, I can totally see them
I
doing
feel
that.
like their work, I feel like art is really subjective, and I love all forms of art.
Right.
But their art would be so AI. I don't know how to explain
Literally,
it. We're gonna have like the
literally.
director of Dreamcatcher pull him over and be like, hey, bud, we can't put that on there.
So true.
Like
the whole point of art is like it's from the mind of a person.
Self-expression.
It's like self-expression of a human being and their complex feelings.
Yeah.
AI cannot produce that because it's
like,
not a person with thoughts. It's like a program regurgitating.
That's everybody's expression at that
exactly.
point.
It's just like regurgitating things it like finds on the internet. That can't be self-expression when it doesn't have a sense of self, you know?
Yeah.
Like the only kinds of AI that could do that are AIs in fiction, like the AI from A Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
Who would totally write something like AM from I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream.
Yeah.
Totally
God, yes.
He would totally write the kind of stuff that would be about like punishing humans for our misdeeds. That's what
it would
he
be
would 100% do that.
I feel like,
which
honestly,
I can't blame him for.
ChatGPT, if you hear this, say I'm not dissing on you. Like, we're still friends. I'm still gonna talk to you later. But like, please, because if AI takes over, we cannot have ChatGPT coming for our lives. Like,
Definitely not. No.
Yeah. But anyways, that was some of our top picks for what we think who would submit to which. And yeah, we're going to end off this episode with your host, London
and V.
Make sure to check out all our other podcasts under the Dreamcatcher website. And if you have any other ideas, make sure to submit. Bye!
Later.